Maya Rodriguez pushed her cleaning cart down the empty hallway. The wheels made a soft sound on the marble floor. It was 2 a.m, and the big office building was quiet. Most people had gone home hours ago. But Maya was just starting her workday. She worked the night shift for a cleaning company. Every night she cleaned the offices in one of the most expensive buildings in Manhattan. The building had 50 floors, and she was responsible for the top 10 floors. These were where the richest and most powerful business people worked. Maya liked working at night. It was peaceful. She could listen to music through her earphones while she worked. She could think about her life and her dreams. Most importantly, she could make enough money to help her sick mother. Her mother had cancer. The treatments were very expensive. Maya worked 2 jobs to pay for everything. During the day, she worked at a small restaurant. At night, she cleaned offices. She was always tired, but she never complained. Her family needed the money. Tonight felt different somehow. Maya could not explain why. Maybe it was because it was Friday night, and she was looking forward to spending Saturday with her mother. Or maybe it was because she had been thinking about her old dreams again. Before her father died, Maya had wanted to be a pianist. She had studied music for years. Her grandmother had taught her to play when she was just 5 years old. Music was in her blood. But when her father died in a car accident, everything changed. Her family needed money more than they needed her dreams. Maya stopped her cart outside the biggest office on the 50th floor. The nameplate on the door read, Alexander Sterling, CEO. She had cleaned this office many times, but she had never seen Mr. Sterling. He was always gone by the time she arrived, but tonight was different. Light was coming from under the door. Maya knocked softly. No one answered. She knocked again, a little louder this time. "Come in," said a deep voice from inside. Maya opened the door slowly. The office was huge. It had floor-to-ceiling windows that showed the city lights below. There were expensive paintings on the walls and a big desk in the center of the room. And there, sitting behind the desk, was Alexander Sterling. Maya had seen his picture in magazines and newspapers. He was 32 years old and worth billions of dollars. He owned a technology company that made software for big businesses. People said he was brilliant, but also cold and difficult to work with. In person, he looked tired. His expensive suit was wrinkled. His dark hair was messy. There were papers scattered all over his desk. Empty coffee cups were everywhere. He was staring at his computer screen with angry eyes. "I'm sorry, sir," Maya said quietly. "I can come back later." Alexander looked up at her. His blue eyes were sharp and unfriendly. "Who are you?" "I'm Maya. I clean your office. I usually come when you're not here." "Well, I'm here tonight," he said. "I've been here for 18 hours. My biggest business deal just fell apart. 5 years of work, gone." He rubbed his eyes. "Just clean around me. I'll try not to get in your way." Maya nodded and started her work. She emptied the trash cans and wiped down the windows. Alexander went back to his computer, typing angry emails and making phone calls. She could hear him arguing with people about contracts and money. As Maya worked, she tried to be invisible. But she noticed things about Alexander Sterling. He looked lonely, even though he was one of the most powerful men in the city. He seemed angry at the world, but maybe he was really angry at himself. Maya was cleaning the area near his desk when she saw the piano. It was in the corner of the office, covered with dust. It looked like no one had played it for years. Maya's heart jumped when she saw it. She loved pianos more than anything else in the world. "That's beautiful," she said without thinking. Alexander looked up from his computer. "What?" "The piano. It's beautiful. Is it a Steinway?" "I don't know," Alexander said. "It came with the office. I don't play." Maya walked over to the piano. She ran her fingers over the dusty keys. Even without playing it, she could tell it was a good instrument. Someone should play it. Music brings life to a room. Alexander made a sound like a laugh, but it wasn't happy. "Life? There's no life in this place. Just work and money and stress." He stood up and walked over to where Maya was standing. You know what? I'm tired of people telling me what I should do. Everyone wants something from me. Money, favors, opportunities. Maya looked at him. She wasn't afraid, even though he was much bigger and more powerful than she was. I don't want anything from you, sir. I just think it's sad when beautiful things aren't used. Really? Alexander's voice was getting louder. You don't want anything? You're just a cleaning lady who knows about expensive pianos? He was standing, very close to her now. I bet you're just like everyone else. You probably want money or a job or something. Maya felt her face get hot. She wasn't used to people being mean to her for no reason. I don't want anything from you. I was just making conversation. Conversation? Alexander laughed again, but it sounded mean. About what? How I should live my life? How I should use my things? He gestured toward the piano. Fine. You want someone to play this piano? Here's an idea. Alexander picked up his coffee cup and took a drink, but his hand was shaking because he was angry and tired. Coffee spilled all over his desk, soaking the important papers he had been working on. Great, he shouted. Perfect. This day just keeps getting better. Maya quickly grabbed some paper towels from her cart. I'm so sorry, let me help clean this up. But Alexander was beyond reason now. All his frustration and anger were coming out at once. No, just stop. Everyone needs to stop trying to help me. He looked at Maya, then at the piano, then back at Maya. You know what? You want to make conversation about that piano? Here's some conversation for you. Alexander pointed at the piano with a dramatic gesture. His voice was loud and mocking. If you can play that piano, I mean, really play it, not just bang on the keys, then I'll marry you. How's that for conversation? The office became completely quiet. Maya stared at Alexander. Alexander stared back at her. Neither of them moved. Maya had been insulted many times in her life. People looked down on cleaning ladies. They treated her like she was invisible or stupid. But something about the way Alexander said those words made her very angry. She walked over to the piano bench and sat down. She lifted the cover over the keys. The piano was dusty, but she could tell it was well made. Maya put her hands on the keys and began to play. Music that came from the piano was beautiful and sad. It was a piece by Chopin that her grandmother had taught her years ago. Maya's fingers moved over the keys like they were dancing. The music filled the big office and seemed to make the city lights outside shine brighter. Alexander stood frozen, in place. His mouth was open. He had expected Maya to walk away or maybe try to play a simple song badly. He had never expected this. The music was perfect. It was the kind of music he heard at expensive concerts, played by famous musicians. Maya played for 3 minutes. When she finished, she put her hands in her lap and looked at Alexander. There, she said quietly. I played your piano. Alexander couldn't speak. He was still staring at her like he couldn't believe what had just happened. Maya stood up from the piano bench. She walked back to her cleaning cart. I should finish my work now, she said. But as she started to push her cart toward the door, Alexander finally found his voice. Wait, he said. Maya turned around. What's your name again? Maya Rodriguez. Alexander nodded slowly. Maya Rodriguez. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I guess I owe you a wedding. Maya looked at Alexander Sterling for a long moment. She could see that he was shocked by what had just happened. His face was pale, and he kept looking between her and the piano like he couldn't believe what he had heard. You don't owe me anything, Maya said finally. You were angry and said something you didn't mean. People do that sometimes. Alexander ran his hand through his messy hair. But I did say it. And you really can play. Yes, I can play. Maya started pushing her cart toward the door again. But you don't have to worry about it. I'm not going to hold you to some crazy thing you said when you were upset. Wait, Alexander said again. Just wait a minute. Maya stopped but didn't turn around. She was tired, and she still had 4 more offices to clean before her shift ended. What? How did you learn to play like that? Now Maya did turn around. Does it matter? Yes, it matters. Alexander sat down in his big leather chair. He looked less angry now, but more confused. I've been to 100 charity concerts. I've heard famous pianists play at Carnegie Hall. You play as well as any of them. Maya felt a mix of pride and sadness. My grandmother taught me when I was little. She used to be a piano teacher in Mexico before she came to America. I studied music in college for 2 years. What happened? Why did you stop? Maya was quiet for a moment. She didn't usually talk about her personal life with the people whose offices she cleaned, but something about the way Alexander asked the question made her want to answer. My father died in a car accident. My mother got sick. My family needed money more than they needed me to follow my dreams. Maya's voice was calm, but Alexander could hear the sadness in it. So you became a cleaning lady. I became someone who takes care of her family, Maya said. There's nothing wrong with cleaning offices. It's honest work. Alexander felt ashamed. He had been rude to Maya because he assumed she was just another person trying to take advantage of him. But she wasn't. She was someone who had given up her dreams to help the people she loved. You're right, he said. I'm sorry, I was having a bad day, but that's no excuse for being mean to you. Maya nodded. Thank you for saying that. She started to leave again, but Alexander stood up. Maya, wait. I want to ask you something, and I want you to think about it before you answer. What? Alexander walked over to the window and looked out at the city. What I said about marrying you if you could play piano. I know it sounds crazy, but what if we actually did it? Maya stared at him. What are you talking about? Not a real marriage, Alexander said quickly. A business arrangement, a contract. He turned to face her. You need money for your mother's medical bills, right? And I need... You need what? Alexander was quiet for a moment. I need to look like I have a personal life. My company is trying to merge with another big company. The other company's owner is very traditional. He thinks I'm too young and too focused only on work. He wants to do business with someone who has a family, someone stable. Maya couldn't believe what she was hearing. So you want to hire me to pretend to be your wife? For 1 year, Alexander said. You would get full health insurance benefits, the best doctors, the best hospitals, everything your mother needs, and at the end of the year we get divorced quietly. You get a settlement that would let you take care of your family for the rest of your life. Maya felt dizzy. This is insane. Is it? People make business deals every day. This would just be a different kind of business deal. Marriage isn't a business deal. It is for people like me, Alexander said. I've never believed in love or romance. I don't have time for those things. But I do understand contracts and mutual benefit. Maya sat down in one of the chairs across from Alexander's desk. Her head was spinning. Let me understand this. You want me to pretend to be your wife for a year so you can make a business deal, and in exchange, you'll pay for my mother's cancer treatment? And you'll live in my apartment so it looks real. And you'll come to business dinners and charity events with me. And you'll get a very large amount of money at the end. How large? $5 million. Maya's eyes went wide. $5 million was more money than she had ever dreamed of having. It was enough to make sure her mother got the best care possible. It was enough to help her younger brother go to college. It was enough to change her whole family's life. But it was also completely crazy. Why me? Maya asked. You could hire an actress or a model, someone who knows how to act like they belong in your world. Alexander thought about this question. Because of the way you played that piano, and because of what you said when I was being rude to you. You weren't afraid of me, and you didn't try to flatter me or impress me. You were just real. Maya looked around the expensive office. Everything in it probably cost more than she made in a year. I don't know anything about being rich. I don't know how to act at fancy parties. I don't have the right clothes or the right education. Those things can be taught, Alexander said. What can't be taught is integrity, and you have that. Maya stood up and walked over to the piano. She touched the keys gently. "My mother is dying," she said quietly. "The doctors say she has maybe 6 months if she doesn't get the new treatment. But the new treatment costs $300,000 and insurance won't pay for it. With my insurance, she could start the treatment next week." Maya closed her eyes. "This is the craziest thing anyone has ever asked me to do." "But you're thinking about it." Maya opened her eyes and looked at Alexander. "If I said yes, and I'm not saying I am, what would the rules be?" Alexander felt his heart beat faster. "We would live in the same apartment but in separate bedrooms. We would appear together in public when necessary. We would both be faithful to the contract. No romantic relationships with other people during the year. And after the year, we get divorced. You take your money and your family and start a new life wherever you want." Maya was quiet for a long time. She thought about her mother lying in the hospital bed getting weaker every day. She thought about her brother working 3 jobs to help pay for school. She thought about herself, cleaning offices at night and serving food during the day, never having time to play piano anymore. "I would want it all in writing," she said finally. "Everything you promised. Legal contracts that protect both of us." Alexander's eyes lit up. "Of course. I'll have my lawyers draw up everything. And I want to meet with the lawyers myself. I want my own lawyer to look at the contracts." "Absolutely." Maya took a deep breath. "And I have one more condition." "What?" "That piano in your office. I want to be able to play it whenever I want." Alexander smiled for the first time since Maya had met him. "It's yours." Maya held out her hand. "Then we have a deal, Mr. Sterling." Alexander shook her hand. Her fingers were calloused from work, but they were the same fingers that had just created beautiful music. "Call me Alexander. We're going to be married after all." Maya laughed, and the sound surprised both of them. "This is either the smartest thing I've ever done or the stupidest." "Maybe it's both," Alexander said. Maya looked around the office. One more time. In a few hours, her life was going to change completely. She was going to go from being a cleaning lady to being the wife of one of the richest men in America. It didn't feel real. "I should finish cleaning the other offices," she said. "I still have a job to do." "Not for much longer," Alexander said. "In a week, you'll be Mrs. Alexander Sterling." Maya pushed her cart toward the door. But just before she left, she turned back to Alexander. "Alexander?" "Yes?" "Thank you for giving me a chance to save my mother." Alexander watched her leave. After she was gone, he sat down at the piano and pressed one of the keys. The sound echoed in the empty office. For the first time in years, Alexander Sterling was curious about what tomorrow would bring. He had just made the strangest business deal of his life. He hoped it would be the best one, too. Outside his office window, the sun was starting to rise over New York City. Alexander had been awake for 24 hours, but he wasn't tired anymore. He had work to do. He had to call his lawyers and start planning a wedding. A fake wedding that was going to change 2 lives forever. Maya sat in the waiting room of the most expensive law office in Manhattan. The chairs were leather, and the carpet was so thick her feet sank into it. She had never been in a place like this before. Everything looked like it cost more money than she made in a month. She was wearing her best dress, which she had bought for her cousin's wedding 2 years ago. It was simple and black, but it was clean and fit her well. Still, she felt out of place among all the expensive furniture and fancy decorations. It had been 3 days since her conversation with Alexander in his office. 3 days since she had agreed to the craziest idea she had ever heard. Now she was here to sign the papers that would make it all legal. Alexander was already in the conference room with his lawyers. Maya could hear voices through the thick wooden door, but she couldn't understand what they were saying. Her own lawyer, Mrs. Chen, was sitting next to her. Maya had found Mrs. Chen through a friend who worked at the restaurant. Mrs. Chen helped working people with legal problems, and she didn't charge too much money. "Are you nervous?" Mrs. Chen asked. "Terrified," Maya admitted. "I keep thinking I'm going to wake up and find out this was all a dream." "It's not a dream, but it is very unusual." Mrs. Chen had read all the contracts that Alexander's lawyers had prepared. "I've never seen anything like this before." Usually when rich people make marriage contracts, it's between two rich families. This is different. Is it legal? Yes, it's legal, and surprisingly fair. Mr. Sterling's lawyers have been very careful to protect your rights as well as his. The doctor to the conference room opened, and a man in an expensive suit came out. Ms. Rodriguez, they're ready for you now. Maya and Mrs. Chen followed him into the conference room. It was even fancier than the waiting room. There was a long table made of dark wood, and the walls were covered with law books. Alexander was sitting at one end of the table with 3 lawyers. He looked up when Maya came in and gave her a small smile. Maya, thank you for coming. Please, sit down. Maya sat across from Alexander. There were papers everywhere on the table, more papers than she had ever seen in her life. Before we begin, said the head lawyer, a woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, I want to make sure everyone understands what we're doing here. This is a prenuptial agreement for a marriage that will last exactly 1 year. Both parties understand that this is a business arrangement, not a romantic relationship. Maya nodded. Her mouth felt dry. Ms. Rodriguez, the lawyer continued, you will receive full health insurance benefits starting immediately. This includes coverage for any family members you choose to add to the policy. You will also receive a monthly allowance of $10,000 for personal expenses. $10,000 a month was more than Maya made in 6 months at both her jobs combined. You will live in Mr. Sterling's penthouse apartment in a private bedroom with your own bathroom. You will attend business and social events with Mr. Sterling as required, but no more than twice per week. You will have access to personal shopping assistance, etiquette training, and anything else you need to fulfill your role. Maya looked at Alexander. He was watching her carefully, as if he was trying to figure out what she was thinking. At the end of 1 year, the lawyer said, the marriage will be dissolved. You will receive a settlement of $5 million, as well as continued health insurance for your family for 5 additional years. What if one of us wants to end the marriage early? Maya asked. There are provisions for that, Mrs. Chen said. If Mr. Sterling ends the marriage early without cause, you still get the full settlement. If you end it early, you get a smaller settlement based on how long the marriage lasted. And if there's cause? Cause would be something like criminal behavior, or breaking the faithfulness clause, or publicly revealing the true nature of the marriage, the head lawyer explained. Maya thought about this. What exactly does the faithfulness clause mean? Alexander spoke for the first time. It means neither of us can have romantic relationships with other people during the year. We need to appear to be a real married couple. But we're not really married, not in our hearts. No, Alexander said. But legally we will be. And legally married people are expected to be faithful to each other. Maya understood. It made sense even if it felt strange. Are there any other rules I should know about? She asked. You're free to pursue your own interests during the day, Alexander said. You can take music lessons, volunteer, whatever you want. The only requirement is that you be available for business events when I need you. What about my family? Can I tell them the truth? Alexander and his lawyers looked at each other. That's dangerous, the head lawyer said. The fewer people who know the truth, the better. But I can't lie to my mother, especially not now when she's so sick. Alexander thought about this. Tell your mother whatever you think is best, but ask her to keep it private. If this arrangement becomes public knowledge, it could ruin both of us. Maya nodded. She knew her mother would never tell anyone else. There's one more thing, Alexander said. The media is already starting to ask questions about us. Someone saw us at the law office yesterday, and there are rumors about a secret relationship. What kind of rumors? That we've been dating quietly for months, that we fell in love when you were working in my building. Alexander looked a little uncomfortable. I know it's not true, but it's actually a good story. It makes me look more human and romantic. Maya almost laughed. So, I'm supposed to pretend that I fell in love with you while I was cleaning your office? Is that so hard to believe? Maya looked at Alexander. He was handsome and he was being nicer to her than he had been that first night, but she barely knew him. I suppose stranger things have happened. Mrs. Chen leaned over to Maya. Do you want to take a break to discuss this privately? Maya shook her head. No, I've made up my mind. She looked around the table at all the lawyers. I have just one question. What happens if we actually start to like each other? Not romantically, but as friends? Alexander smiled. I hope we do become friends. This will be much easier if we get along. Then I'm ready to sign. For the next hour, Maya signed paper after paper. Her hand was cramping by the time they finished. Mrs. Chen explained each document before Maya signed it, making sure she understood everything. Finally, it was done. Maya was going to marry Alexander Sterling in 3 days. Congratulations, the head lawyer said. I think this arrangement will work well for both of you. After the lawyers left, Alexander and Maya were alone in the conference room. How do you feel? Alexander asked. Like I just signed my life away, Maya said honestly. You signed a contract, that's different. Maya gathered her purse and stood up to leave. Is it? For the next year, every decision I make will affect you. And every decision you make will affect me. That sounds like more than just a contract to me. Alexander thought about this. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is more than a contract. Alexander? Yes? What if this doesn't work? What if I embarrass you at some important business dinner? What if I say the wrong thing or wear the wrong clothes? Alexander stood up and walked around the table to where Maya was standing. Maya, you played Chopin beautifully at 2 a.m. after working for 8 hours. You negotiated a fair contract with some of the best lawyers in New York. You're worried about saying the wrong thing. Those are different kinds of skills. No, they're not. They're all about paying attention and caring about doing things well. You'll be fine. Maya felt a little better. When do I move into your apartment? Tomorrow. And tomorrow evening, we have our first public appearance together. What kind of appearance? A charity dinner. 500 people, including reporters and photographers. Alexander saw the scared look on Maya's face. Don't worry. I'll be with you the whole time. And remember, we're supposed to be in love. Just stay close to me and smile. Maya took a deep breath. Okay. I can do this. I know you can. Maya walked toward the door, then turned back. Alexander, thank you for keeping your word. A lot of people would have pretended that night in your office never happened. I never break my promises, Alexander said, even the crazy ones. Especially the crazy ones. Maya left the law office and walked out onto the busy street. In 3 days, she would be Mrs. Alexander Sterling. In 4 days, her mother would start the treatment that could save her life. As she walked home to her small apartment, Maya thought about how different her life was going to be. She would live in a penthouse instead of a tiny apartment. She would go to fancy parties instead of working 2 jobs. She would wear expensive clothes instead of her worn-out uniforms. But the most amazing thing was that she would be able to play piano again. Really play, not just touch the keys sadly when no one was watching. Alexander had promised her access to his piano, and she was going to make the most of it. Maya stopped at a flower shop and bought a small bouquet for her mother. She wanted to tell her the good news about the insurance coverage, even if she couldn't explain exactly how it was happening. Her mother was going to live. That was all that mattered. Everything else, the fake marriage, the fancy apartment, the business dinners, was just what she had to do to make that happen. Maya Rodriguez was about to become someone else entirely, but she was doing it for the best reason in the world. She was doing it for love. Maya had been Mrs. Alexander Sterling for 6 weeks, and she still felt like she was living someone else's life. The penthouse apartment was bigger than the entire house she had grown up in. Her bedroom had a walk-in closet full of clothes that a personal shopper had chosen for her. The bathroom had a bathtub so big she could almost swim in it. But the strangest part wasn't the luxury. The strangest part was living with Alexander. During the day, he went to his office and she rarely saw him. She spent her mornings visiting her mother in the hospital, where the new cancer treatment was already working better than anyone had hoped. In the afternoons, Maya took piano lessons with a teacher that Alexander had hired for her. It felt wonderful to study music again after so many years. But in the evenings, when Alexander came home from work, they had to learn how to live together. They ate dinner together most nights, usually in comfortable silence. Alexander was always polite but distant. Maya could tell he was still getting used to having someone else in his space. Tonight was different. Maya was in the living room, playing the beautiful grand piano that Alexander had moved there from his office. She was working on a piece by Debussy that her piano teacher had given her. The music was soft and flowing, like water running over stones. She didn't hear Alexander come into the apartment. When she finished playing and turned around, he was standing by the door, still wearing his suit jacket, but he looked tired in a way that went deeper than just a long day at work. "That was beautiful," he said quietly. "Thank you. How was your day?" Alexander loosened his tie and sat down in one of the chairs near the piano. "Terrible. We lost another client to our biggest competitor. That's 3 this month." Maya had learned that Alexander's business was having problems. The merger he had wanted was taking longer than expected, and other companies were trying to steal his clients while he was distracted. "I'm sorry," Maya said. "Is there anything I can do to help?" Alexander looked at her with surprise. "You want to help me with business problems? I don't know anything about business, but sometimes it helps to talk to someone." Alexander was quiet for a moment. No one had ever offered to listen to his work problems just to be kind. People usually wanted something from him: money, favors, opportunities. But Maya wasn't asking for anything. She was just offering to listen. "The client we lost today was someone I've worked with for 5 years, Alexander said. "He told me he's going with our competitor because he thinks I'm too focused on my personal life and not paying enough attention to business." Maya felt confused. "But isn't that what you wanted? For people to think you have a personal life?" "It's complicated. Some people want me to be more stable and family-oriented. Other people want me to be completely dedicated to work." Alexander rubbed his forehead. "I can't make everyone happy." "Maybe you should stop trying to make everyone else happy and figure out what makes you happy." Alexander looked at Maya with interest. "What do you mean?" Maya got up from the piano bench and sat in the chair across from Alexander. "In the 6 weeks I've known you, I've never seen you do anything just because you enjoy it. You work, you go to business dinners, you worry about what other people think. When do you do things that make you happy?" "I don't have time for that. Everyone has time for that. They just choose to use their time for other things." Alexander thought about this. "What makes you happy?" "Playing piano. Spending time with my family. Cooking. Reading. Walking in the park." Maya smiled. "Simple things." "I used to like simple things," Alexander said slowly. "When I was a kid, I loved to read adventure books. I wanted to travel to all the places I read about. I thought about becoming a pilot or a travel writer. What happened? My father died when I was 16. I had to take over the family business. There wasn't time for dreams anymore." Maya felt a deep sadness for Alexander. She knew what it was like to give up dreams for family responsibilities. "I'm sorry. That must have been very hard." "It was necessary." "That doesn't mean it wasn't hard." Alexander looked at Maya carefully. No one had ever acknowledged the difficulty of what he had done. Everyone just expected him to be grateful for inheriting a fortune. No one understood that he had given up his own plans to take care of his family's legacy. "What about you?" Alexander asked. "Do you ever regret giving up music school?" "Sometimes, but I don't regret taking care of my mother. Family is more important than dreams." "But now you're playing again. How does that feel?" Maya's face lit up, like coming back to life. "I didn't realize how much I missed it until I started lessons again." They sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Outside the big windows, the city lights twinkled like stars. "Maya," Alexander said. "Yes? Would you play something else? Something happy?" Maya went back to the piano. She played a piece by Mozart that always made her smile. The music was bright and cheerful, like sunshine after rain. When she finished, Alexander was smiling too. "Thank you," he said. "I haven't felt this relaxed in months." From that night on, something changed between Maya and Alexander. They started talking more during dinner. Alexander told Maya about his business problems, and she listened without judgment. Maya told Alexander about her family and her dreams, and he encouraged her to keep taking piano lessons. Alexander also started coming home earlier. Instead of working until midnight every night, he tried to be home by 8 o'clock so they could have dinner together. He said it was because they needed to practice acting like a married couple, but Maya suspected there was more to it than that. One evening, Maya was cooking dinner when Alexander came home looking especially upset. "Bad day?" she asked. "The worst. 3 more clients are thinking about leaving. My business partner thinks I should call off the merger and focus on saving the clients we still have." Maya put down her cooking spoon and looked at Alexander. "What do you think you should do?" "I don't know. I've been working toward this merger for 2 years, but maybe it's not worth it if I lose everything else. Can I ask you something? If you weren't worried about money or what other people thought, what would you really want to do?" Alexander sat down at the kitchen counter. "I'd want to build something new, something that helps people instead of just making money. I have ideas for technology that could make education more accessible or help small businesses grow. But that's not what my company does now." "Why not change what your company does?" "And because it's risky, because I might fail, because my family built this company to do what it does now." Maya turned back to her cooking. "My grandmother used to say that the biggest risk is not taking any risks at all." "What does that mean?" "It means that if you never try to build something you believe in, you'll always wonder what could have happened. And that's a kind of failure too." Alexander thought about this while Maya finished making dinner. She had made chicken with rice and vegetables, simple food, but it smelled wonderful. It was the kind of meal his mother used to make when he was young, before his life became all business dinners and expensive restaurants. As they ate, Alexander found himself talking about his ideas for changing his company. Maya asked good questions and made suggestions that showed she was really listening. She didn't understand all the technical details, but she understood the bigger picture. "You should do it," she said finally. "You should build the company you really want to build. Even if it means losing the merger. Especially if it means losing the merger. You don't need someone else's approval to be successful." Alexander looked at Maya with new respect. "You're very wise for someone so young." "I'm not wise. I just know what it's like to spend your life doing things you don't really want to do. It's exhausting." After dinner, they sat in the living room. Alexander read while Maya played piano softly. It felt natural and comfortable, like they had been doing this for years instead of weeks. "Maya?" Alexander said during a quiet moment, between songs. "Yes? I'm glad you're here. Not just because of the business arrangement. I mean, I'm glad to have someone to talk to, someone who listens." Maya felt a warm feeling in her chest. "I'm glad to be here too. This is the first time in years that I haven't had to worry about money or my mother's health. I can actually think about other things." "Like what?" "Like whether I want to go back to school. Like whether I want to teach piano someday. Like what I want my life to look like after this year is over." Alexander felt a strange sensation when Maya mentioned the end of their arrangement. He had stopped thinking about it as a temporary situation. It was starting to feel permanent. "When this year is over," Alexander said carefully, "what do you think you'll do?" "I don't know yet. For the first time in my adult life, I have choices. That's a little scary, but also exciting. You could stay in New York, continue your music lessons, maybe perform professionally." Maya smiled. "Maybe. Or maybe I'll travel. See some of those places you used to read about when you were a kid." Alexander felt something that might have been jealousy. "That sounds nice." They were quiet again. Outside, it started to rain softly against the windows. "Alexander?" "Yes?" "Thank you for giving me this chance. Not just the contract, but the chance to be myself again. I had forgotten who I was when I wasn't just taking care of other people. Thank you for reminding me that there's more to life than work." Maya played one more song before they both went to bed. Maya had been married to Alexander for 4 months when she realized she was falling in love with him. The realization hit her on a Tuesday morning while she was making coffee in their kitchen. Alexander was getting ready for work, rushing around, looking for important papers, and he stopped to kiss her cheek goodbye. It was just for show in case any of the building staff saw them. They had to act like a real married couple all the time now. But the kiss felt different this morning. It felt real. Maya stood in the kitchen for a long time after Alexander left, touching her cheek where his lips had been. This was not supposed to happen. Their arrangement was business only. No feelings, no complications. But her heart didn't seem to understand the rules of their contract. The problem was that Alexander was not the cold, selfish man she had thought he was when they first met. Over the past months, Maya had discovered that he was kind, funny, and surprisingly thoughtful. He remembered that she liked her coffee with extra cream. He bought her favorite flowers for no reason. He listened to her play piano every evening and always asked her to play one more song. More importantly, Alexander had started changing his business to match his real values. He had decided not to pursue the merger that would have made him even richer. Instead, he was working on new projects that would help small businesses and make education more affordable. He worked just as hard as before, but now he seemed excited about his work instead of stressed by it. Maya also discovered that Alexander had been quietly generous for years. He gave money to charities that helped families like hers. He paid for scholarships for students who couldn't afford college. He had never talked about these things because he didn't want people to think he was just trying to improve his reputation. The more Maya learned about the real Alexander, the harder it became to remember that their marriage wasn't real. Today was especially difficult because they were going to visit Maya's family for the first time since the wedding. Alexander had asked if he could meet her mother and brother. Maya's mother was feeling much better because of the cancer treatment, and she wanted to thank Alexander in person. Maya was nervous about the visit. Her family lived in a small apartment, in a neighborhood very different from where Alexander was used to going. She worried that he would feel uncomfortable, or that her family would feel intimidated by him. But when Alexander picked her up that afternoon, he was carrying a bouquet of flowers for her mother and a gift bag for her brother. "What did you get, Miguel?" Maya asked as they drove to her family's apartment. "Books. You said he likes to read about history, so I got him some books about ancient Rome and Greece, and a gift card to the bookstore so he can choose other books he wants." Maya felt her heart flutter. Alexander had been paying attention when she talked about her family. He cared enough to choose thoughtful gifts. "He'll love that," Maya said. "Thank you." When they arrived at the apartment building, Maya could see Alexander looking around with interest, not judgment. The building was old and needed repairs, but it was clean and well-maintained. Families had lived here for generations, and there was a sense of community that expensive buildings often lacked. Maya's mother, Rosa, opened the door before they could knock. She was thin from her illness, but her eyes were bright and welcoming. Maya had inherited her mother's beautiful smile. "Alexander," Rosa said, embracing him like she had known him for years. "Thank you for coming. Welcome to our home." Maya watched Alexander's face soften as her mother hugged him. "Thank you for inviting me, Mrs. Rodriguez. These are for you." He handed her the flowers. "Please call me Rosa, and these are beautiful. Maya, your husband has excellent taste." Maya's younger brother Miguel appeared from the kitchen. He was 20 years old, tall and serious, studying accounting at the community college. He shook Alexander's hand politely but looked a little suspicious. Miguel was protective of Maya and didn't trust rich people easily. "It's nice to meet you," Miguel said. "Maya talks about you all the time." "She talks about you too," Alexander replied. "She's very proud of how hard you're working in school." Maya had prepared Alexander for Miguel's shyness, but she was surprised at how naturally Alexander talked to her brother. He asked about Miguel's studies and seemed genuinely interested in the answers. When he gave Miguel the books, her brother's face lit up with genuine excitement. "These are amazing," Miguel said, flipping through one of the books. "I've wanted to read this one for months, but it was too expensive." Maya told me you're thinking about studying ancient history after you finish your accounting degree. Alexander said. I thought you might enjoy these. Maya felt tears in her eyes. Alexander had listened to every story she had told about her family, and he had remembered the details that mattered. Rosa insisted on cooking dinner for them, even though Maya had offered to take everyone to a restaurant. Nonsense, Rosa said. Alexander is family now. Family eats home cooking. While Rosa and Maya prepared dinner, Alexander and Miguel sat in the small living room, talking about books and history. Maya could hear them laughing together, and she felt a deep happiness that had nothing to do with their business arrangement. He's wonderful, Rosa whispered to Maya in the kitchen. I can see why you fell in love with him. Maya's mother believed their marriage was real. Maya had decided not to tell her the truth because she didn't want her mother to worry about what would happen when the year was over. But hearing her mother talk about love made Maya's chest tighten with guilt and longing. He's a good man, Maya said carefully. And he loves you very much. I can see it in the way he looks at you. Maya glanced into the living room, where Alexander was explaining something to Miguel using gestures and drawings on a piece of paper. Did he really look at her with love? Or was he just very good at acting? During dinner, Alexander asked Rosa about her childhood in Mexico and listened with real interest to her stories. He asked Miguel about his goals for the future and offered advice about careers in business. He complimented Rosa's cooking and asked for the recipe for her famous chicken mole. This is the best meal I've had in years, Alexander said. Restaurant food is never as good as home cooking. You're welcome here any time, Rosa said. This is your home too now. After dinner, Rosa insisted that Maya play piano for Alexander. The apartment had an old upright piano that Maya's grandmother had saved for years to buy. It was nothing like the grand piano in Alexander's penthouse, but it had been Maya's first instrument. Maya played the same Chopin piece she had played the night they met. As the music filled the small living room, she watched Alexander's face. He was looking at her with an expression she had never seen before. It was soft and warm and full of something that looked very much like love. When the song ended, Alexander started clapping, and Rosa and Miguel joined in. Beautiful, Rosa said. My daughter has a gift from God. Yes, she does, Alexander said, quietly, still looking at Maya. Later, as they were getting ready to leave, Rosa pulled Alexander aside while Maya was saying goodbye to Miguel. Take good care of my daughter, Rosa said. She has spent her whole life taking care of other people. She deserves someone who will take care of her. I will, Alexander promised. I'll take very good care of her. On the drive home, Maya and Alexander were both quiet. The visit had gone better than Maya had hoped, but it had also made their situation more complicated. Acting like they were in love in front of her family had felt too real, too natural. Your family is wonderful, Alexander said finally. I can see where you get your strength and kindness. They liked you too. Miguel doesn't trust people easily, but he was really comfortable with you. I like talking to him, he's very smart. And your mother is amazing. She's been through so much, but she's still so positive and welcoming. Maya felt proud of her family, but also sad. In 8 months, their marriage would be over, and Alexander would no longer be part of their lives. The thought made her feel empty. Alexander? Yes? Thank you for being so good to them. You didn't have to bring gifts or ask about their lives, but you did, and it meant a lot to them. It meant a lot to me, too. I've never had a family dinner like that. My family dinners were always formal and business-focused. Tonight felt like what a family dinner should be. They were quiet again until they reached their building. In the elevator, Maya found herself standing closer to Alexander than usual. She could smell his cologne and feel the warmth from his body. When the elevator doors opened at their floor, neither of them moved for a moment. Maya? Alexander said softly. Yes? Are you happy? With our arrangement, I mean. Are you happy with how things are going? Maya looked into Alexander's eyes. She could see something vulnerable there, as if her answer really mattered to him. Yes, she said. I'm happier than I've been in years. Are you? I am, I just want to make sure you are too. They walked to their apartment door together. Alexander unlocked it, but before they went inside, Maya stopped him. Alexander, can I ask you something? Of course. When we're with my family, or at business dinners or just here at home, when you act like you care about me, is any of it real? Or are you just very good at pretending? Alexander looked at Maya for a long moment. She could see him thinking, choosing his words carefully. Some of it is real, he said finally. Maya was arranging flowers in the penthouse when Alexander came home early from work. It was only 3 in the afternoon, and he usually didn't return until evening. She could tell something was wrong by the way he walked. His shoulders were tense and his face looked troubled. You're home early, Maya said, looking up from the white roses she was putting in a crystal vase. They had been living together for 8 months now, and she had learned to read his moods. We need to talk, Alexander said. He loosened his tie and sat down heavily in one of the living room chairs. Maya set down the flowers and sat across from him. What's wrong? Victoria's back. Maya felt a cold sensation in her stomach. Victoria Hartwell was Alexander's ex-fiancée. They had been engaged 2 years ago, but Victoria had broken it off to move to Paris for a fashion career. Maya had seen pictures of Victoria in magazines. She was tall, blonde, and beautiful in the way that only rich women could be beautiful. Back from Paris? Maya asked. Back and wanting to see me. She called my office today and said she made a mistake leaving. She wants to try again. Maya felt like someone had punched her in the chest, but she tried to keep her voice calm. What did you tell her? I told her I'm married now. She laughed and said she knew all about our arrangement. Maya's blood turned to ice. She knows? She knows something. I'm not sure how much. Alexander ran his hands through his hair. Victoria always had connections everywhere. Someone must have told her about the contract. What does she want? To have lunch tomorrow, she says she wants to congratulate me on my clever solution to my image problem. Maya stood up and walked to the window. The city looked the same as always, but everything felt different now. Their secret was out, at least partially, and Victoria was back to claim Alexander. Are you going to have lunch with her? Maya asked without turning around. I don't think I have a choice. If Victoria knows about our arrangement, she could make things very difficult for both of us. Maya turned back to Alexander. What do you mean? She could go to the media. Tell them our marriage is fake. That would destroy both our reputations. It could ruin my business and make it impossible for you to start over when this year is finished. Maya felt trapped. For months she had been building a new life. She had been taking piano lessons and thinking about maybe performing professionally. She had been helping Alexander with his business ideas and feeling useful and valued. Now, all of that could disappear because of a woman who wanted Alexander back. What does Victoria want in exchange for keeping quiet? Maya asked. I don't know yet, but knowing Victoria, it won't be simple. That evening, Maya tried to act normal, but she couldn't concentrate on anything. She tried to play piano, but her fingers felt clumsy on the keys. She tried to read, but she couldn't focus on the words. Alexander was also distracted, spending most of the evening on phone calls with his lawyers. The next day, Alexander met Victoria for lunch at an expensive restaurant in Manhattan. Maya spent the day at the hospital with her mother, but she couldn't stop thinking about what Victoria might be saying to Alexander. When Alexander came home that evening, he looked even more troubled than before. How did it go? Maya asked. Alexander poured himself a drink before sitting down. Worse than I expected. Tell me. Victoria knows everything. She knows about the contract, the health insurance for your mother, the money you're supposed to get at the end of the year. Someone in my lawyer's office must have told her. Maya felt sick. What does she want? She wants me to end our marriage and marry her instead. She says she's ready to settle down now and help me with my business. And if you don't, she'll tell everyone that our marriage is fake. She'll say I hired you to pretend to be my wife, so I could look more stable for business deals. Maya sat down heavily. That would ruin everything. For both of us. People would never trust me in business again. And you? You'd be seen as someone who took money to lie about being married. It would follow you for the rest of your life. Maya felt tears starting in her eyes, but she blinked them back. So, what are you going to do? Alexander looked at Maya for a long moment. I don't know. Victoria gave me a week to decide. What is there to decide? If you don't do what she wants, she'll destroy both of us. Maya. No, it's okay. I understand. This was always supposed to be temporary anyway. We both knew this would end eventually, but even as Maya said the words, she knew they weren't true. She had stopped thinking of their marriage as temporary months ago. She had started imagining what it would be like if their relationship became real. If Alexander fell in love with her the way she had fallen in love with him. It doesn't have to end, Alexander said quietly. What do you mean? Victoria also made me another offer. She said if I pay her $5 million, she'll go back to Paris and never bother us again. Maya stared at Alexander. $5 million? That's exactly how much you're supposed to pay me at the end of our contract. I know. So you could pay her to go away, but then you wouldn't have the money to pay me. Right. Maya understood the situation now. Alexander could save their secret, but only by breaking his promise to her. Or he could keep his promise to her but lose everything when Victoria exposed them. There's a third option, Maya said slowly. What? I could leave now, end our marriage early. Then Victoria gets what she wants, and you don't have to pay me anything. Alexander stood up quickly. No, absolutely not. I'm not going to let Victoria destroy your life because she decided she wants me back. But if I leave, there's no scandal. Victoria gets you, and I disappear quietly. Problem solved. What about your mother? What about the money you need to start your new life? Maya felt tears coming again. My mother is doing well now. The treatment worked. She'll be okay with regular insurance. And I can get a job. I'll figure it out. Maya, no. I won't let you sacrifice everything because of Victoria's greed. And I won't let you destroy your business because of a promise you made to me. They looked at each other across the living room. Maya could see the conflict in Alexander's eyes. He wanted to protect her, but he also had his company to think about. Hundreds of people worked for him. If his reputation was destroyed, they would all suffer. There has to be another way, Alexander said. What way? Victoria holds all the cards. She has information that could ruin us, and she's using it to get what she wants. Alexander was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, What if our marriage became real? Maya's heart stopped. What? What if we decided to make this a real marriage? Then Victoria couldn't expose us because there would be nothing to expose. Maya stared at Alexander. Are you asking me to really marry you? I'm asking if you would want to stay married to me, not because of a contract, but because we choose to be together. Maya felt her heart racing. This was what she had been dreaming about for months. But not like this. Not because they were being forced into it by someone else's threats. Alexander, you don't have to do this to protect me. I can take care of myself. I know you can. But I don't want to lose you. You don't want to lose me? Or you don't want to lose the arrangement we have? Alexander walked over to where Maya was sitting. He knelt down in front of her chair and took her hands in his. Maya, I haven't been honest with you about something. I haven't been honest about how I feel. Maya's breath caught in her throat. What do you mean? I mean that somewhere along the way, this stopped being just a business arrangement for me. I fell in love with you. Maya felt like the world had stopped spinning. You fell in love with me? Completely. Hopelessly. I love the way you play piano like you're telling a story. I love the way you listen to my problems without trying to fix them. I love the way you make our apartment feel like a home. I love your strength and your kindness and your beautiful heart. Maya felt tears running down her cheeks. Alexander, I know this is a terrible time to tell you this. I know it seems like I'm only saying it because of Victoria's threats. But I've been wanting to tell you for months. I just didn't know how. Maya looked into Alexander's eyes and saw something she had been hoping to see for so long. Love. Real, deep, honest love. I fell in love with you too, she whispered. Alexander's face lit up with relief and joy. You did? Months ago. I tried not to, because I knew it would complicate everything, but I couldn't help it. Alexander leaned forward and kissed Maya softly. It was their first real kiss, not for show or pretending. It was a kiss that said everything they had been too afraid to say out loud. When they broke apart, Maya felt like she was floating. So what do we do about Victoria? She asked. Alexander smiled. We tell her the truth, that our marriage is real now and she has no power over us anymore. And if she doesn't believe us, then we'll prove it to her, and to everyone else. We'll renew our vows in a real ceremony with our families and friends. We'll show the world that what we have is genuine. Maya felt hope blooming in her chest. Are you sure? Are you sure you want to be married to me for real? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. But even as Maya felt happiness overwhelming her, a small voice in the back of her mind wondered if Alexander would still feel the same way. Once Victoria's threats were gone, was he proposing a real marriage because he truly loved her, or because it was the solution to their problem? Maya pushed the doubt away. Maya woke up the next morning feeling like she was living in a dream. Alexander had told her he loved her. They were going to make their marriage real. For a few precious hours, everything seemed perfect. But when Maya came out of her bedroom, she found Alexander on the phone in his office, speaking in a low, tense voice. Through the half-open door, she could hear fragments of his conversation. I understand the risks. Yes, I know what's at stake. We need to think about this carefully. Maya felt a cold fear creeping into her stomach. When Alexander finished his call and came out to the kitchen, his face was serious. Who are you talking to? Maya asked. My business partner, James. And my lawyers. Alexander poured himself coffee with shaking hands. Maya, we have a problem. What kind of problem? The merger I turned down last year? The company is now offering to buy us out completely. It would mean selling my entire business, but for 3 times what it was worth before. Maya set down her coffee cup. That's good news, isn't it? It could be. But there's a condition. They want me to appear unmarried and available. They're planning to merge with another family business, and they want me to marry the daughter of the other company's owner to seal the deal. Maya felt like she couldn't breathe. What? It's an old-fashioned arrangement, but it would make me one of the most powerful business leaders in the country. It would also set up my employees for life. Everyone who works for me would become incredibly wealthy, and you would have to divorce me to do it. Alexander sat down heavily. Maya, this offer won't last long. They want an answer by the end of the week. Maya stared at Alexander. Just 12 hours ago, he had told her he loved her and wanted to make their marriage real. Now he was talking about divorce so he could marry someone else for business. So what are you saying? Maya asked quietly. I'm saying this is complicated. I have responsibilities to a lot of people. What about your responsibilities to me? Alexander looked pained. Maya, you have to understand. This isn't just about money. This is about the future of everyone who works for my company. Hundreds of families depend on me making the right decision. Maya felt anger rising in her chest. And what about my family? What about our future together? Does that matter at all? Of course it matters. But we always knew this marriage would end eventually. Maybe this is just happening sooner than we planned. Maya couldn't believe what she was hearing. Alexander, last night you told me you loved me. You said you wanted to make our marriage real. I do love you. But love doesn't always mean we can be together. Maya felt tears starting, but she was too angry to cry. You're exactly like everyone said you were. You care more about money and business than you care about people. That's not fair, Maya. You know that's not true. Do I? Because right now it sounds like you're ready to throw away everything we have for a bigger profit. Alexander stood up and started pacing. It's not that simple. This deal would change everything. It would give me the resources to build the kind of company I really want. I could help thousands of people instead of just hundreds. And all you have to do is marry a stranger and forget about the woman you claim to love. Maya, please try to understand. I understand perfectly. Maya grabbed her purse and jacket. I understand that when it comes down to choosing between me and money, money wins. Where are you going? To see my mother. I need to talk to someone who actually cares about me. Maya slammed the apartment door behind her and took the elevator, down to the lobby. As she waited for a taxi, she felt her phone buzzing with text messages from Alexander, but she ignored them. When Maya arrived at her mother's apartment, Rosa took one look at her daughter's face and knew something was terribly wrong. Mija, what happened? You look like someone died. Maya collapsed into her mother's arms and finally let herself cry. Between sobs, she told Rosa everything. About the original contract, about falling in love with Alexander, about Victoria's threats, and about the new business deal that could end their marriage. Rosa listened without judgment, stroking Maya's hair like she had when Maya was a little girl. So your marriage was never real to begin with? Rosa asked when Maya finished. Not at first, but it became real, at least for me. I thought it was real for Alexander too, but now I don't know. What does your heart tell you? My heart says Alexander is a good man who loves me but doesn't know how to choose love over duty. Rosa was quiet for a moment. Your father was like that sometimes. He loved us deeply, but he also felt responsible for everyone else. His parents, his brothers, the men who worked with him. Sometimes that weight made him make decisions that hurt the people closest to him. What did you do? I learned that you can't make someone choose you. You can only decide whether you're willing to wait while they figure out what really matters to them. I don't know if I can wait, Mama. It hurts too much. Then maybe you have your answer. Maya spent the rest of the day with her mother and Miguel. Being with her family helped her think more clearly. That evening, she returned to the penthouse to find Alexander waiting for her in the living room. Maya, thank God. I was worried about you. I'm fine. I just needed time to think. And what did you decide? Maya sat down across from Alexander. I've decided that you need to make your own choice without me trying to influence you. If this business deal is what you really want, then you should take it. Alexander looked surprised. And what about us? There is no us, Alexander. There's you, and there's a business arrangement that's about to end. Maya, that's not true. What I said last night about loving you, you said that when you thought our only choice was to stay together because of Victoria's threats. Now you have other options and you're considering them. That tells me everything I need to know. Alexander leaned forward. It's not that simple. I do love you, but I also have obligations. Stop. Maya held up her hand. Don't explain it again. I understand your position. You have difficult choices to make, and I respect that. But I'm not going to sit here and compete with a business deal for your attention. So what are you saying? I'm saying I'm going to make this easy for you. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to pack my things and move back to my old apartment. We can get divorced quietly, and you can pursue whatever opportunities you think are best. Alexander looked devastated. Maya, please don't do this. Give me time to figure out a solution that works for everyone. There is no solution that works for everyone, Alexander. That's the point. Sometimes you have to choose what matters most to you. And you've already shown me what that is. What if I choose you? What if I turn down the business deal and tell Victoria to go to hell? Maya felt her heart flutter with hope, but she forced herself to stay strong. Is that what you want to do? Alexander was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. I need time to think. Then think, but think without me here confusing things for you. That night, Maya packed her belongings while Alexander watched from the doorway of her bedroom. Maya, please, don't leave like this. How should I leave, Alexander? Happy and grateful? Pretending that my heart isn't breaking? I never meant to hurt you. I know. But sometimes good people hurt each other anyway. Maya closed her suitcase and looked around the room that had been her home for 8 months. She had been happier here than anywhere else in her life. But happiness based on a lie wasn't really happiness at all. "I'll be staying with my mother for a while," Maya said. "Your lawyers can contact me there when you're ready to finalize the divorce papers." "Maya, what if I—" "Goodbye, Alexander." Maya walked out of the penthouse and didn't look back. In the elevator, she finally let herself cry again. She had known from the beginning that this arrangement would end, but she had foolishly let herself believe it could become something permanent. The next few days passed in a blur of sadness and anger. Maya moved back into her tiny old apartment, which felt cramped and dark after months of living in Alexander's penthouse. She called the cleaning company and asked for her old job back. Her supervisor was surprised but happy to have her return. Maya's mother and brother were worried about her, but they didn't ask too many questions. They could see that she was heartbroken, and they gave her space to heal. On Friday morning, Maya was cleaning offices in the same building where she had first met Alexander. She had requested a different floor, but as she walked past the elevator that led to Alexander's office, she couldn't help thinking about that night 8 months ago when everything had changed. Maya was emptying trash cans when she heard familiar voices in the hallway. She looked up and saw Victoria Hartwell walking toward her with a man in an expensive suit. Victoria was even more beautiful in person than in photographs. Tall, elegant, with perfect blonde hair and flawless makeup. Victoria stopped when she saw Maya. Well, if it isn't the famous Mrs. Sterling." Maya straightened up but didn't say anything. "Oh, I'm sorry," Victoria continued with a fake smile. "I guess it's just Ms. Rodriguez now, isn't it? I heard about your little separation." The man with Victoria looked uncomfortable. "Victoria, maybe we should just go to the meeting." "In a minute, Richard." Victoria stepped closer to Maya. "I wanted to thank you personally, Maya. Thanks to you, Alexander has finally come to his senses. I don't know what you mean," Maya said quietly. Maya's hands shook as she pressed the button for the penthouse elevator. The doorman had recognized her and let her up without question, but Maya wondered if Alexander would want to see her. She had left him without giving him a chance to explain, and she had ignored his calls for days. When the elevator doors opened, Maya could hear piano music coming from inside the apartment. She used her key to open the door quietly and stepped inside. Alexander was sitting at the grand piano playing a sad, slow melody that Maya had never heard before. His back was to her, and he didn't notice her come in. Maya stood in the doorway, listening to the music and feeling her heart break all over again. The song was beautiful but filled with longing and loss. Maya could hear Alexander's emotions in every note. He was playing like someone who had lost everything that mattered to him. When the music stopped, Maya spoke softly. "That was beautiful. Did you write it?" Alexander spun around on the piano bench, his eyes wide with shock. "Maya, you're here. I'm here." Alexander stood up slowly as if he was afraid she might disappear if he moved too quickly. "I've been calling you for days." "I know. I'm sorry. I was hurt and confused, and I didn't want to hear you choose business over me." "Maya, I need to tell you something." "I know. Miguel told me. You turned down the business deal." Alexander's face showed relief and hope. "You know?" "I know, and I'm sorry." "I'm so sorry, Alexander. I should have stayed and listened to you. I should have trusted you." Alexander walked toward Maya, stopping just a few feet away from her. "I don't blame you for leaving. I handled everything badly. When that business opportunity came up, I got scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared that I wasn't good enough for you. Scared that you would realize you could do better than a man who doesn't know how to choose love over money." Maya felt tears starting in her eyes. "Alexander, you are good enough for me. You're better than I ever dreamed of. I spent my whole life thinking that money and success were the only things that mattered. But these past months with you have taught me that love matters more than anything else. Then why did you even consider the business deal?" Alexander ran his hand through his hair. "Because old habits are hard to break. When someone offers you everything you thought you wanted, it's hard to remember that you already have everything you need." Maya stepped closer to Alexander. And what do you need? You. Just you. Maya, I love you more than I've ever loved anything or anyone in my life. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, not because of a contract, but because I can't imagine being happy without you. I love you too, Alexander. I've loved you for months, but I was too scared to really believe it could be real. Alexander reached out and touched Maya's face gently. It's real. We're real. And I want everyone to know it. What do you mean? Alexander smiled and pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. I mean, I want to propose to you properly this time. Not because of business or contracts or threats from Victoria. Just because I love you and want to marry you. Maya gasped as Alexander got down on one knee and opened the box. Inside was a beautiful ring with a diamond that sparkled like starlight. Maya Rodriguez, will you marry me? Really marry me this time? Will you be my wife for the rest of our lives? Maya felt joy flooding through her entire body. Yes, of course I'll marry you. Alexander slipped the ring onto Maya's finger and stood up to kiss her. This kiss was different from all the others. It was a kiss that promised forever. When they broke apart, Maya was laughing and crying at the same time. I can't believe this is really happening. Believe it. We're going to have a real wedding with our families and friends. We're going to exchange real vows and make real promises to each other. What about Victoria? What about all the people who might try to interfere with our happiness? Let them try. We'll face whatever comes together. And Maya? I want everyone to know our whole story. The contract, the arrangement, how we fell in love. I'm not ashamed of how we started. I'm proud of what we've become. Maya smiled through her tears. Our love story is pretty unusual, isn't it? The best love stories always are. 3 months later, Maya stood in a small church in her old neighborhood, wearing a simple white dress and holding a bouquet of white roses. The church was filled with their family and friends, Rosa and Miguel in the front row, Alexander's business partners and employees, and even some of the people Maya had worked with at the cleaning company. Alexander stood at the altar waiting for her, wearing a black suit and the biggest smile Maya had ever seen. As she walked down the aisle, Maya heard soft piano music playing. It was the song Alexander had written for her, the one she had heard him playing the night she came back to him. When Maya reached the altar, Alexander took her hands in his. We're really doing this, he whispered. We really are, Maya whispered back. The ceremony was simple but beautiful. Maya and Alexander had written their own vows, promising to love each other through good times and bad, to choose each other every day and to never let fear keep them from being honest with each other. When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Alexander kissed Maya like it was the first time and the last time, all at once. The church erupted in applause and cheers. At the reception afterward, Maya played piano for their guests. She played the song that had brought them together that first night in Alexander's office, and she played the song Alexander had written for her. But her favorite moment was when Alexander joined her at the piano and they played a duet together. I never thought I'd be able to play piano with my husband, Maya said, as their fingers danced over the keys together. I never thought I'd have a husband who could play piano, laughed Rosa from the audience. As the evening wound down, Maya and Alexander found themselves alone on the small dance floor, swaying to music only they could hear. Any regrets? Alexander asked. Only one, Maya said. Alexander looked worried. What? I regret that it took us so long to get here. I regret all the time we wasted being scared. Alexander spun Maya around gently. I don't regret any of it. Every mistake we made, every moment of doubt, every fear we faced. It all led us to this moment. And this moment is perfect. Maya looked around the room at all the people celebrating their love. Her mother was talking with Alexander's business partner about the scholarship fund they were starting for students who wanted to study music. Miguel was deep in conversation with Alexander's lawyer about internship opportunities. Victoria was nowhere to be seen. She had left for Paris the week after Alexander turned down the business deal, realizing she had lost the game completely. What are you thinking about? Alexander asked. I'm thinking about how much our lives have changed. A year ago, I was cleaning your office and you were working 18-hour days and neither of us believed in love. And now? Now I can't imagine life without love, without you. Alexander kissed Maya's forehead. Speaking of changes, I have something to tell you. What? Remember that business deal I turned down? The one that would have made me richer but cost me you? Yes. Turning it down was the best business decision I ever made. My company's stock price has doubled since I announced I was focusing on socially responsible technology. Investors love the fact that I chose love over money. It turns out that having values is actually very profitable. Maya laughed. So you're saying that marrying me was good for business? Marrying you is good for everything. My business, my health, my happiness, my soul. As the last song of the evening played, Maya and Alexander held each other close and thought about the future. They would travel together to all the places Alexander had dreamed of seeing as a child. Maya would continue her music studies and maybe even perform professionally. Alexander would build the kind of company he had always wanted to build, one that helped people instead of just making money. But most importantly, they would love each other every single day, through all the ordinary moments and extraordinary adventures that make up a life together. Alexander, Maya said as they prepared to leave for their honeymoon. Yes, my love? If you play the piano, I'll marry you. Alexander laughed and kissed his wife. Deal, for the rest of our lives. Outside the church, snow began to fall softly on the city. Maya and Alexander walked to their car hand in hand, ready to begin their real life together. They had started as strangers, brought together by a desperate moment and a crazy promise. They had become friends, then lovers, then partners in every sense of the word. Their love story had begun with a contract, but it would continue with a choice, the choice to love each other every day for the rest of their lives. And as they drove away into their future together, Maya played a soft melody on Alexander's hand while he drove, and Alexander hummed along, and both of them knew that they had found something rarer and more valuable than all the money in the world. They had found true love, the kind that lasts forever.